Kelly, Toby, and David are at Todd's cabin. David, do you have peer pressure at school?
Not in high school, but I dreaded it when I was 12 or 13.
How come you never told me about it?
Dad, when you're 13, talking to parents isn't high on your agenda.
True. Kids are apt to keep their feelings from adults.
Parents think we have it easy, but we're subjected to a lot of pressure.
What kind of pressure does a 13-year-old have today?
First and foremost, you try to be liked by your peers.
That's normal when you're an adolescent. I was always anxious to be popular at school.
But we never felt pressured about it.
No, we didn't. What does it take to win everyone's respect these days?
You may think it's silly, but you have to be cool.
Explain what you mean by cool.
Well, you definitely have to wear the right clothes and the right shoes to school.
Sounds to me like you're being judged by your looks.
We are, but that's the quickest way to fit into a clique.
What happens to those kids who don't dress cool?
People make fun of them and constantly talk behind their backs. I know of some kids who were bullied.
I don't mean to pry, but were you ever bullied by other kids?
No, never. But I wasn't considered cool either.
And how do you see your life now?
I'm past those years of struggling to sort out what's cool.
That's comforting to know.
But I'm still subjected to a lot of pressure.
We all are, David. You'll just have to learn to live with it.
Okay, and now let's go on to kids and sports.
Kelly, Todd, and Tracy are in a meeting at the office.
Tracy, how late can you work today?
Till 5. I've got to pick up the kids after practice.
Then we'll call it a day and continue this tomorrow.
Do you send your children to a sports program?
Uh-huh. It's better than turning them loose to roam the neighborhood.
Really? My son used to run outside for a neighborhood baseball game before dinner.
That's almost unheard of these days, Todd.
What sort of sports do your children play?
Baseball was my son's first love, but now he's vying to join the soccer team.
I've heard it's an honor to be picked to join a soccer team.
Definitely. He takes his practices pretty seriously.
And what about your daughters?
My teenage daughter was an aspiring tennis player until her enthusiasm wore off.
That's a typical case.
And Amy, my youngest, plays field hockey in the fall and lacrosse in the spring. Somehow she also finds the time to swim every day.
At what age did they all start playing organized sports?
Amy got her first taste of real sports quite early. She took up gymnastics at 4.
At 4? Isn't that a bit young to be a gymnast?
Well, actually, being small and light was an advantage for her. But she couldn't handle the pressure of my expectations.
Pressure can take all the fun out of a sport.
Exactly. Amy developed such a distaste for gymnastics, she doesn't want to ever see a balance beam again.
There are small children who thrive on pressure, though. Take Tiger Woods, for instance.
Oh, sure. Some gifted children are great.
I guess it's every parent's dream to see his kid become a champion athlete.
Maybe, but that's no reason for parents to push their kids too far, too fast.
Yeah. Parents just need to encourage kids to try different sports.
Well, I guess that means I'll have to keep on shuttling them to practices and games.
You know, Jeff, parents today must feel a tremendous gap between their children and themselves. For one thing, kids know more about the latest technology than their parents do.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's hard to know what may take hold of their children via the internet.
Yes.
These teenagers spend a lot of their time transferring their inner thoughts to total strangers on the net. And eventually, the stranger becomes an imaginary friend who shares their fantasies.
Mm-hmm. You know, Marcia, this brave new cyber world and its virtual friendship is hard for me to understand. I have to have direct contact with somebody, at least hear their voice to feel any intimacy. When I was a kid, my friends and I did things. We went places together.
Kids are more word-oriented nowadays, maybe.
Yes, very much. Talking with my 10-year-old nephew can sometimes be like negotiating with a lawyer. But I love his articulateness and freedom in expressing himself. I'm only concerned that he develop not only good speaking skills, but good listening skills as well. So on that note, Let's listen to Huckleberry Finn.
Kelly and Toby walk into a bookstore. I'm thinking of getting my neighbor's son a book for his birthday. You're an English literature major. What would you recommend a 10-year-old?
If I were you, I'd get him The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn.
That was my first choice. But you see, English isn't his first language.
Although the ungrammatical dialect drives English teachers up the wall, I still think it's good reading for children.
You're probably right.
It's unfortunate the book's been banned from some libraries for its supposed racism.
I also think it's been banned on account of Huck himself.
What do you mean?
Well, he runs away from home, he refuses to bathe, he even smokes. That makes him a very poor role model.
Yes, he's really too independent for adults to accept. Adults like to imagine children to be helpless, innocent creatures.
Where do adults get the idea that children are so passive?
Beats me. I guess most adults have forgotten what it was like to be a child.
Children love to go off on adventures. I still remember the thrill of exploring those forbidden places in the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah. Abandoned barns and haunted houses were irresistible.
I'm surprised I didn't seriously injure myself.
If our parents only knew.
You know, I used to love watching revivals of The Little Rascals. Remember them?
Sure. Who could forget those little rebels from the 1920s? They were the wisest gang of kids on TV.
Right. And they took matters into their own hands, just like Huck and Tom Sawyer.
Exactly. Those kids were the ones who always enlightened the adults.
I sometimes wonder if there's a streak of Huck left in what children read and watch today.
Huck is still thriving, without a doubt. In fact, I think he's become the direct ancestor of hundreds of fictional children.
All right, let's go on to discipline.
Todd and David are out on Todd's porch.
We need to talk, David. Your mother says you've been partying a lot lately.
But Dad, it's my senior year. Can't I have a little fun with my buddies?
But she's caught you drinking.
Just once or twice. I'm not a regular drinker.
Has it occurred to you that you're still under the legal drinking age?
I know, but a can of beer is harmless, Dad.
No buts, young man. Underage drinking is unacceptable. Have I made myself clear, David?
Yeah, I hear you.
Toby steps out to join them.
Lunch is ready.
I'm not hungry now. I'll skip lunch.
Did I miss something?
I gave him a few words of warning about drinking with his friends.
Raising teenagers is such a challenge for parents.
It sure is. Kids make all kinds of mistakes when they're growing up.
Do you often confront David?
I deal with things whenever they come up, but I also let him know that I still love him.
Kelly, Toby, and Todd are having lunch. Should I go and see how David's doing?
Well, I usually give him some time on his own to sort his feelings out.
That makes sense.
You see, when he was small, my ex-wife and I spoiled him by giving in to his demands.
That's happening a lot today among many two-career families.
Maybe it's a product of the times.
Could be. We were under the illusion that the quality time we spent with David had to be pure fun.
And so you never said no to him.
Exactly. We didn't give him much in the way of discipline.
That can lead to a lot of trouble.
Well, David's never been violent, but he would talk back whenever he didn't get his way.
He seems well adjusted now.
We sought family counseling and got him back on track.
David walks into the room.
Hey, I hope you've left something for me.
Jeff, here's another issue that's bothering me. The number of children with eating disorders today, especially among adolescent girls, frightens me.
Yeah.
There's been a dramatic increase of young girls who develop either anorexia or bulimia, even though these eating disorders may eventually lead to death. And it's not just due to genetics. Researchers point out that culture plays an important part in the increase in these cases.
This national obsession with dieting has pressured young girls to be preoccupied with their weight.
As early as first grade. Also, some experts say eating disorders aren't about beauty, but it's more about being able to handle one's anxiety.
Really?
And that frightens me even more. Why should children have so much anxiety and pressure at such an early age? We really need to think hard about our obsession with waif-like beauty.
I agree, Marcia, but I don't want you to get too anxious about the situation and end up with an eating disorder.
Don't worry, I won't.
So let's shift our focus away from the youngsters to their grandparents. The topic is the elderly, and our first dialogue is Talking with Grandmother.
Well, that's all the time we have for today. I'm Marcia Krakauer.
And this is Jeff Clark saying,
Join us tomorrow.